Hey guys, Tightrope here, and in this video we're taking a look at all of the reworked artillery strikes and then comparing them to a few of the outlier airstrikes. Testing out the revised off-map Airburst Barrage for the British Forces Indian Artillery Battle Group. See the targeting circle there, going to do it right on the Panzer Grenadiers in the middle. See how it goes, got the orange flares on this one, so like mid-threat. Feels like it comes in like less delay, both between the flares appearing and the shells starting to land, and also between shells. Maybe a couple of extra shells added in as well. See how it does against the Stuka specifically. Seems like it scatters wide, not too much forward and back. Doesn't do any damage here. I wonder what its penetration value is, because it looked like a couple of those were hitting on the rear armor, but maybe not clean shots. Either way, I'd say overall it is improved compared to before. And apparently it got nerfed a little bit against ambient buildings, so we'll see how this goes. The buildings here. Still cool. That one was at about 4 or 5 shells. Definitely possible to flatten a building with this still, but maybe not quite as devastating as it was before. But you don't feel safe. If you're inside a building against this barrage, get out fast. So I'm going to be testing out the perimeter monitor ability, and I believe before this patch there was an issue where sectors that were captured by your teammates wouldn't be triggered, or, you know, artillery from this wouldn't actually target units inside that area. So I figured I'd get my teammate here, who is yellow, to capture this point. And we'll activate it here just to see how that goes.
All frontline sectors.
So it looks like it's going to work. See, now it has a yellow highlight on the sector when it has an ability active in it. That's yellow for friendly. I believe it's orange for an enemy sector ability. Alright, let's see how it goes now against some enemy units. I believe it said there are 3 separate artillery pieces, so they should target 3 units here. So Panzer Grenadiers, Panzer IV, Stuka. Accuracy doesn't seem to be that impressive, or precision maybe. But you're definitely targeting 3 different units, so you're not going to get one unit just absolutely obliterated in a split second. It seems like we get some flares kind of showing what they're going to be landing on. Did we get flares earlier in the ability?
Command points available.
Getting them now, at least. That's a decent time, but yeah, I mean, the accuracy is quite poor. Like, I didn't dodge at all the whole time. It's maybe like decent as zone denial, but I don't think you have to be that scared of this ability, really, especially with vehicles. It's not that impactful, and yeah, it's just not very precise, and maybe the AoE isn't incredible. It's an okay ability, but it's not like something to be terrified of when it's active. Having a look at the Recon Artillery from the British Armoured Battle Group. There are a few changes to this one. Specifically, said it won't target units inside base sectors, so I'm going to target it kind of like this. So this unit in the base sector is still in the edge of the zone. See if that is true. Also got the Werber one down here. This did get its AA nerfed this patch, and the Recon Artillery's plane got health buffed. So let's see how long it takes a Werber one to shoot down this Recon Artillery, because apparently the ability will stop when the plane gets shot down. The plane is roughly 3 times the strength of a normal plane, though. 2.5 times maybe. I'm going to target there.
You need recce?
Let's go.
Here we are.
Fast circling now.
Mayday! Mayday!
Do you hear that noise right at the end there? Sounds like a stone getting thrown down a concrete floor corridor. Did a decent amount of damage for 150. That's pretty reasonable considering it gives you vision as well. And that got shot down early too. Killed a machine gun, a squad, a half track. Didn't target anything down here. Didn't target anything in the base either, so it seems to be working. But yeah, still got quite a lot of value out of it. The Whirlwind took a long time to shoot it down. I think like 3 or 4 rounds of artillery there. So yeah, I mean, that seems to be reasonable. Having a look at the changes to the assault flares ability. These were mainly visual, I think, and a slight rate of fire nerf to infantry affected by them. So let's see how they go.
Frontline sectors will be illuminated at once.
So yes, the enemy sectors now are lit up yellow.
Royal Engineers,
See
come on,
that
sappers.
you get move speed bonus, like sprint, out of combat sprint, I think it is. Anywhere. You don't have to be on a frontline sector to get it.
Royal Engineers,
We'll
ready.
see what the rate of fire bonus looks like in the straight head-to-head. See, from 50% to 25%.
Sappers getting ripped up here. Act them out.
We've lost contact with our sappers.
Yeah, obviously, RNG plays into these things, but yeah, still, the rate of fire bonus wasn't like so powerful that it overcame RNG of that engagement. Yeah, the fires flares up on the sectors initially, like right
Frontline
on the
sectors will
sector
be
flags,
illuminated at
pretty
once.
big ones, like right over the top of the sectors at the initial activation of the ability, but it lasts quite a bit longer, the buffs and stuff, than the flares do. So this is a very strong vision tool, similar to the flares that Brits used to have in Code 2 before they got a lot of nerfs. These are kind of similar to that, like pre-nerf. So these are, I think these are really powerful. And even just as a tool for your infantry to like run back from your base, you know, onto the front line, it's, you know, it's actually a very, very strong ability for only 110 munis. So I wanted to just double check this if you had to be in the frontline sector for that rate of fire buff to take effect.
Taking losses. Bloody German.
No.
Sappers getting ripped up here.
You know, affected by this is going to lose again. Okay. Just wanted to double check, you know, I like to
Royal
be
Engineers
careful
out
about
of
these things.
contact.
Naval Bombardment for the British Air and Sea Battle Group. This competes with the assault flares, and I'd say previous to this patch, this ability was just complete garbage. I think it fired like maybe 3 shells, which were huge shells, but really long delay before they came down. And the scatter was just absurd. Like, you could, no reliability. This was just a meme of an ability. Let's see how it goes now.
Artillery
On
barrage
the pack in
on
the
way.
center. Okay, so the payload's still... Oh! It's got to be like 4 times better than it used to be. How much is that? Well, 225. 3 doses of shells. So anything stationary that's in here is going to get absolutely annihilated. Panzer IV does, then anything it will. How's the area? It was about there. It's on the edge, maybe relatively safe, but yeah, way better. 3 volleys of shots, more reliable scatter. Actually, a pretty good ability now. The thing is with this commander, though, you got a lot of munitions competition at the end of here. All of these abilities, I'd say, are actually pretty good. So it's a really tough choice what you actually want to go for here, which, you know, maybe is slightly different to a lot of battle group decisions where you just going to lock down one side and one tree most of the time. I think now there's quite a lot of competition for your munitions in the end game. First, let's have a look at the propaganda abilities available in COH3. So obviously you have the fair propaganda artillery from Soviets, and this has a radius of 15 range. It's 5, 10, 15 each side. You could also get it on the Commissar. Commissar, same story, but now 45 munitions since it comes on a unit, but harder to get it to work. Only have a designated range for it. And then finally we also had the Sturm Officer. Forced retreat. This costs 60 munitions, forced 1 unit to retreat, and gave the officer a 20% received accuracy debuff for 10 seconds. I'd say this one was probably overpriced, maybe needed like a 10 muni discount. Saw very little play. Now the thing about fair propaganda is it wasn't guaranteed to cause a retreat immediately. It would apply like a guaranteed slow debuff at the start of the ability. And then I think you had about a 1 in 3 chance with each set of leaflets to cause a retreat. There we go. One of them did retreat. And there goes the other one. So quite often squad wouldn't retreat at the end of this. It was a bit unreliable in its effect, but 80 munitions, and as you saw, sometimes it would apply suppression and pin, and yeah, always applied that slow debuff at the start of the ability. Alright, now having a look at the Italian Infantry Propaganda War. This one costs 150 munitions, so nearly twice the price of the COH3 version, but I believe it does cause guaranteed retreat. And I think this patch changed it so it will no longer force things like anti-tank guns to retreat, even though in Company of Heroes 2 it could cause those which don't usually have retreat, apart from like the Raketen. You can see here though the area is smaller, 10 radius instead of 15, so it does make it a much smaller area overall. Let's see what happens. So that's a very fast retreat after activation. But yeah, units that don't have retreat by default no longer retreat from it. 150 munis though. I think probably overcosted. Maybe 100's more appropriate. But yeah, it is instant retreat. Probably decent for big blobs. But yeah, I think 150 munis is way too much to be paying for this. A lot of these other abilities you could kill 3 squads for 150 munis, let alone, just cause them to retreat. Having a look at the Obice Barrage, I believe that's how it's pronounced, at least, in the Italian Infantry Battle Group. 180 munitions, so it seems to be, some of the others are about 225. Not the most expensive of the lot. And this one's got suppression on it. 1 shell at a time, seems to scatter outside of the range. Slow coming down though, pretty slow. Target's about here, right? Everything's scattered up on that side. We'll do one more just to double check there's nothing strange going on. Yeah, it's alright. I mean, it'll probably be pretty decent if your opponent's built up like a forward base for healing. there's British things you can build on those strategic points, or against like a mid-truck formation, something like that, causing stuff to move. Yeah, pretty slow. The suppression does make it a bit more viable. It seems like it can maybe like target slightly out of range, like maybe edge of the circle is where a shell can land, so you can be slightly out of the circle and still take damage. Not that the circle appears on the ground, I think, which does make it, you know, more difficult, I think, for you, the recipient, to identify what's going on, what exactly you're getting targeted by. Testing out the registered artillery, this one from the Italian infantry battle group as well. 80 munitions, and you have to activate this on a specific friendly sector, and I believe it only targets like inside of the circle, essentially. I'm going to do it once these guys start to capture.
All batteries to arms. Commence barrage.
See how it goes. Okay, so it can hit slightly outside the circle as well. Quite a lot of shells on that one, not a lot of delay either.
Coming around.
Can do well against light vehicles. Looks like it doesn't quite have the penetration to get through a medium tank. And these days you can now do this on victory points as well. I think previous to this patch you couldn't. So this could actually be a pretty good late game victory point holding on to tool, because that's pretty effective. Any infantry getting in the circle during that will get just obliterated. So the fact that you can now do this on victory points, I think this makes it a lot more appealing. Using it on just a territory point, I mean, the delay is not long. Could catch somebody off guard if they don't notice it. But, you know, they could easily just run out of the circle and not really take any damage from it. Now having a look at the artillery cover in the Italian Combined Arms. Last of the artillery strikes. This one costs 225 munitions, and I believe in the notes it says, similar to the perimeter Overwatch, it will try to target 3 different units, I believe. Biggest area, I think, so far of any of the artillery.
All batteries on alert. Fire at will.
So, okay, you can see the flares indicate what it targets, and actually that comes down reasonably fast. The medium shells target vehicles, I believe. Light shells target infantry. And team weapons. This one lasts quite a while also. It looks like it does provide a circle on the ground too.
Command points awaiting assignment.
Lasts a long time.
Commandant, you have available command points.
But the first vehicle shell seems to come through pretty quickly if it's targeting vehicles. That might be a little bit difficult to dodge, but the delay between the flares showing up on the infantry and then the shell starting to come down is pretty high. So you should be able to dodge that reasonably effectively. I suppose that means that this is maybe a bit more valuable as just like a zone denial tool. It does cover a big area, lasts for a long time. Could be helpful again in like a BP capping race situation. And for the sake of comparison, let's have a look at some of the air-based bombing strikes that we've seen recently. Starting out with Armoured Support, Africa Corps, Stuka Divebomb. I've seen this in cast be extremely effective. This is 150 munitions. Here's the circle. I've got the Bulldozer and the Easy 8 in here. Healthiest tanks that US forces have. So it looks like it can do 800 damage. Comes in fast. Saw the bug there where vehicles try to target planes as they're flying past as well. Yeah, that seems pretty good for 150 munis. Seems might put a couple of these other strikes to shame. So checking out the anti-tank loiter from Armed Support as well. This one very popular at the moment. I'd say a little bit overtuned, a little bit disappointed this didn't get nerfed this patch if I'm honest. Just want to see again, the delay between activation and damage coming through. And I believe this maybe still has the same bug where, like, as you're driving out of the circle, you still take one more pass. And we're not talking like the classic issue before where, you know, you get locked onto when you're in the circle, drive out of the circle, you take one more pass. You seem to often be able to take one extra pass above and beyond that. And it seems like, you know, these circles were supposed to indicate what's getting locked onto, but they don't seem to be a reliable indicator. Because this has been indicated for a long time and it hasn't taken any passes. Start driving this guy out of the circle, see what happens. The ability's about to time out. I think one of the things that makes this ability so strong as well is how hard it is to dodge. Like the Brit rockets, not as reliable, but these, even with like a fast vehicle, you're pretty much always going to get hit by them. This ability, yeah, I'm a little bit disappointed this one didn't get nerfed this patch. Alright, now we're going to have a look at the US Forces carpet bombing in their airborne battle group. This one I remember being very slow coming through, and I think the targeting of it might be slightly off as well, like how it appears on the map, whereas compared to how the shells actually come down. You see on the mini-map there. Seems to be alright actually. Maybe it's just the mini-map indicator that's a little bit misleading. So that was pretty much, I think I targeted it like that. Definitely targets outside of the circle. It's quite a bit wider than it appears. Yeah, reasonably long delay on that though. Now we're taking a look at what everybody is complaining about this patch, and rightly so, the P-47 strafing run from the Air Support Center. And we're actually going to compare this to the P-47 strafing runs from the Spec Ops Battle Group, see how they compare. Starting with the Air Support Center, I've positioned the AT guns facing this way so the gun shield is leaning in to the strafe, giving them the best chance of survival.
99 fighters here. SOP boys, straight that target.
So narrowly surviving there. I think maybe some of these guys like would absorb some of these shots. I'm not sure exactly how the damage does, but yeah, very nearly dead. And if you're trying to target these, you know, try to come in from the opposite side, from the gun shield, we'll probably have a better chance of actually squad wiping. And now we'll do the strafing runs.
P-47 ready to ruin
Double the
Jerry's
munitions.
day. Straight for target, dead ahead.
Seem to be basically the same thing, but for twice the price.
Heading back to B.
So yeah, these things at the moment, major issue this patch. Very fast coming through, very difficult to dodge. And have a look at the dive bomb also from the Air Support Center, since we looked at the dive bomb Africa Corps have earlier as well. This one has a much smaller circle, as you saw there.
T-Bow dropping bombs and getting the hell
Seems to be slower coming in than the Axis dive bomb. But yeah, with the double sortie, enough to kill a Panzer IV at least. Pretty strong. Much smaller AoE, but yeah, whatever's in the center of the blast is going to get annihilated. And the last off-map I plan to look at in this video is the Incendiary Bombing run from the British Air and Sea Battle Group. See how this one goes. Similar targeting circle to the carpet bombing from US Forces, and similar story, maybe the mini-map slightly misleading compared to how I targeted the ability. So it covers a pretty wide area. Seems like there are some gaps in the middle though. Maybe it could even be like tightened up a little bit to be a bit more true to how it appears and to eliminate those safe zones. Doesn't really do anything to tanks, can do something to light vehicles. pretty decent impact against infantry as well. And the flames on the ground, you know, make it more difficult because you got to retreat through it potentially as well on your way home. Makes it harder to get away from the effects of this ability. And here's a roundup of the times from the abilities we looked at in this video. And note, this is from me activating the ability, not from when the flares appear. So you have to chop a couple seconds off this when it comes to reacting and dodging these abilities. So you can see the registered artillery does come down very fast, but I'm not too worried about that ability because at the start of the ability, the shells are quite weak. They don't come down that frequently and there's a lot of scatter. Also, the strafes are very fast. We can see compared to the other strikes, they probably need at least another second added onto them. And the Air Support Center strafe needs a big cost increase if it wants to maintain its current damage level. And finally, the carpet bombing and incendiary bombing are probably a bit on the slow side, way too easy to dodge, though they do deliver devastating payloads in a much shorter time space than the artillery strikes, which usually last up to 1 minute. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, I hope you consider coming on board as a Patreon backer.